In a twist no one saw coming but everyone now talks about, the Danish royal family has found itself thrust into a whirlwind of emotions, shock, and intense public scrutiny. The last few days have rocked the very foundation of what once seemed like a serene and perfectly poised monarchy. Just 5 days after Queen Margrethe announced a bold move to streamline the Danish royal family, allegedly to keep in step with other modern European monarchies, the echoes of hurt, confusion, and betrayal began to surface with a force that not even the palace could silence. At the center of this emotional upheaval stands Prince Joachim, her younger son, who has now emerged from behind palace walls, breaking a silence many assumed was driven by duty but was in fact weighed down by heartbreak. The world watched in disbelief as Queen Margrethe, Denmark's longest-serving monarch, stepped forward with a historic and controversial decision that stripped Prince Joachim's 4 children, Nikolai, Felix, Henrik, and Athena, of their royal titles. The intention, she claimed, was to allow them greater freedom and a future less burdened by the constraints of royalty. But behind this seemingly progressive gesture lay a fault line within the family, one that no official statement could mend and no royal protocol could hide. When the news broke, it felt clinical. It was framed as an administrative realignment, a modern-day adjustment, a strategic maneuver in line with how other monarchies like Sweden and the Netherlands have chosen to operate. But to Prince Joachim and his children, it felt like exile, an unexpected and deeply personal removal from the institution they were born into and had faithfully served. And then came the most shocking part. Queen Margrethe publicly admitted she did not know that Prince Joachim and his children would be so hurt. This single revelation ignited a firestorm of emotion and speculation. How could a mother not foresee the pain such a move would cause her own son and grandchildren? For a nation that has long looked up to the Queen as a figure of wisdom, compassion, and unity, this admission hit like a thunderbolt. What appeared to be a rational decision on the outside suddenly became a human story drenched in disappointment and heartbreak. Prince Joachim, who had until then remained respectfully silent, finally let his true feelings be known. In an emotionally charged interview, his words were laced with disappointment and sorrow. He did not lash out in anger or disrespect the crown, but his pain was undeniable. He spoke of the shock his family felt when they were told they would no longer bear the titles of prince and princess. He described the confusion of his children, the sadness in their eyes, and the weight of a decision that none of them had a say in. The very fabric of royal identity, stitched into their upbringing and sense of purpose, had suddenly been torn without warning. His youngest children were still in school, and now had to confront questions from their peers about their loss of titles. The humiliation and sadness weren't just private, they were public and inescapable. Observers of the royal family and Danish citizens alike began to ask difficult questions. Had the Queen become too distant from the daily lives of her own family members? Was this truly a decision driven by modernity, or was there something deeper brewing behind the royal curtains? Commentators quickly compared the situation to similar decisions in Sweden, where King Carl Gustaf had restructured the royal household but had done so with advance notice and full communication. The contrast was glaring. In Denmark, the lack of communication between Queen Margrethe and Prince Joachim's family stood out like a sore thumb. Adding to the complexity is the fact that Prince Joachim and his wife, Princess Marie, have lived abroad for some time, engaging in diplomatic and cultural duties that reflect positively on Denmark. Their children, though less visible than Crown Prince Frederik's, have always carried their titles with grace and dignity. To them, being a prince or princess wasn't about privilege, it was about identity and service. And then, with one decision, it was all taken away. Royal watchers noted that Queen Margrethe had often been praised for her clarity of thought and strong leadership. Her reign has been defined by loyalty, art, diplomacy, and resilience. But now, many are wondering if the Queen miscalculated the human cost of her decision. In a monarchy, where family and institution are deeply entwined, was this move too clinical, too cold? The Queen insisted she had made the decision alone, to secure the future of the monarchy and allow her grandchildren the freedom to live normal lives. But was this freedom truly a gift, or a punishment disguised as progress? Inside sources whispered that Queen Margrethe had initially believed her decision would be accepted quietly, perhaps even appreciated in the long run. She had not anticipated that the public would sympathize so strongly with Prince Joachim's side of the story. Nor did she foresee how this revelation, that she had no idea of their emotional reaction, would make her seem distant, disconnected, and perhaps even uncaring in the eyes of many. What emerged from this royal crisis was a tale that touched people deeply. Because beyond the crowns, titles, and palace walls lies a human story, a story of a mother and her son, a grandmother and her grandchildren. A story of communication lost, of assumptions made, and of hearts unintentionally broken. The public's support for Prince Joachim and his children was swift and vocal. Social media lit up with messages of solidarity, with many Danes expressing their disappointment and urging reconciliation. What was meant to be a quiet administrative change had become a national conversation on empathy, family values, and the role of monarchy in modern society. Prince Joachim, through his vulnerability, emerged not just as a royal but as a father standing up for his children. His calm yet emotional demeanor revealed the depth of the wound and the dignity with which he chose to handle it. It was not rebellion, it was heartbreak. It was not defiance, it was the ache of being left out, misunderstood, and suddenly stripped of the one thing that defined his children's place in the royal narrative. In the days that followed, Queen Margrethe took steps to explain her decision further. She released a statement acknowledging the pain her move had caused. In it, she reiterated that her intention had never been to hurt anyone. She expressed her love for all her grandchildren and hoped they would find comfort in knowing that their worth extended beyond any royal title. But for many, the damage had already been done. Words, once said, cannot be unsaid. Decisions, once made, leave marks, even when forgiveness eventually follows. As the royal family continues to navigate this storm, one truth has become clear. The Danish monarchy is undergoing a transformation not just in structure, but in spirit. The emotional revelations sparked by this decision have forced both the palace and the people to confront the real meaning of royalty. It's no longer enough to uphold tradition without heart. And as this chapter unfolds, all eyes remain on how this family, so beloved and admired, will choose to heal. Will Queen Margrethe and Prince Joachim find common ground? Can the royal family mend its internal wounds while still moving forward with modernization? And perhaps most importantly, will the grandchildren ever feel truly at home again in a world that once called them princes and princesses? Thank you for watching this powerful look into the emotional and controversial decision shaking the Danish royal family. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment below. What are your thoughts on Queen Margrethe's decision and Prince Joachim's heartfelt reaction?